Many pictures. Let's take this out for now. So normally an image will not be clickable unless you give it as a clickable action or you set it to a simple button kind of thing. But image button is something that it is a button which acts like as a button as well as an image view. So it's not something that you have to make a different or make it clickable again in order to make it do some action on when you click on it. So image button is something, of course, which is very similar to a button with an image on it. So we generally use image views. For example, if you are using any kind of new image views that can do the same work, that is well and fine. And if I take what we generally do is we take an image view and make the image view clickable, and when you write set on click listener for this image view, it similarly works like that. And but only difference between image button and image view is image view will not have anything separately again. I mean, it doesn't have a container again which looks similar to it's carrying an image inside it. You can figure it out similarly when you see the image view. So let me show it here itself. I'll use the same image again. So the difference between image button and image view is this. As I told you, it doesn't have some kind of feeling like it has some container behind it. So image view will not have that kind of container behind it. But when you talk about the image button, it looks like it has some kind of container behind it in order to make that clickable or give that kind of it's a clickable button look. Because nowadays we doesn't see any images or as a layman user, no one knows that an image is a clickable image, so that you can click there and you can go somewhere. As if you go on a Facebook, for example, if you open a Facebook application and you can click on any of the profile picture that you see on your post, and you can go there to his profile directly. But when you see for the first time, when you are a first time Facebook user on 2008 or 2007, so you don't definitely understand that clicking on this picture will take me to somewhere, or this particular image is clickable. You don't have that kind of see through there. And of course, if it is a web application, that is completely a different scenario, because when you put your pointer on particular place, it will show you a hand symbol which will make that it's a clickable button, or it's a different, or it gives you a hover or tooltip somewhere. So but in mobile phones, you don't have that kind of chance in order to make, or in order to see that yes, this is a clickable button. So in order to make see that to a user, you can't make him understand that it's a clickable unless he clicks there and sees it. So of course, you can give a small demo regarding your application in order to understand what your application does and what all it had. So let's go to the other components now. So this is the difference between the image button and image view, and let's talk about the progress bar later, because the progress bar is something which will be indicated to a user, showing him that something is happening or some operation is happening. Generally it does that when application is connected to a server or talking to a server to get some data or to post some data. For example, when you are opening your Facebook details, or when you open up your Facebook application, you see a login application, or you see a login page where you put down your username and password and click on the submit button. So there you see a loading thing, or anywhere you see a progressing thing, which will be giving an impression to a user that there is some operation happening behind, or some operation is happening at that particular moment. That could be an authentication. So as per our example, when you're written something or when you write something there and you're clicking on the submit button, it's making you to that gives a user a feeling that yes, my authentication is being done. So if you don't put that particular loading bar or something, user doesn't know that when it has been started or when it is going to end. So which makes a user panic, or he may lose the interest in the application. So it's always a good thing, or it's a user perspective wise, it's always show him some loading. If you don't show him any loading, it doesn't help out to the user who sees it. When he clicks on the button, he doesn't understand whether that particular button is pressed or not. Because when you help him showing the progress bar, when you click on a button, if you're starting an operation in the background, or if you're starting authentication with a server, you definitely has to show a progress bar at any way, or you can show it in different kinds of progress bars. You can show loading somewhere, or you can show something getting loaded, or you can make it different animations at that point, where user understands that yes, my input has been taken and phone is not something like stuck or something happened differently. So progress bar is one of the best component to make your application and user understand that it's working and it's not something happened differently or something happened in a different way. So there are different kinds of progress bars, like you had large, you had normal. Even though you pull it up here, you don't see anything here as of now, but the kind of sizes will actually differ here. The progress bar could be small, the progress bar could be normal, and progress bar horizontal is something very different. As you see something going on, like whenever the download starts, you see a seeking happening, or the amount of percentage happened. In the same way, you can show a horizontal line bar when you use a progress bar horizontal. So it depends upon the usage, or it depends upon the application requirement, which progress bar you want to use. You want something customized, you can write your own progress bar, or if you want to use some horizontal progress bar, you can use a horizontal progress bar. So the difference between the horizontal progress bar and the small progress bar will be very small. So the progress bar, this is for this style small, which means the progress bar will be looking very small. And when you talk about the horizontal, it is also using the same progress bar tag, but the difference is that it's using the attribute, or the style is being changed from progress bar style small to progress bar style horizontal. So all these styles, as we spoke before, it will be there in the app compat library, so you don't need to worry about them, or you don't need to write them differently again. Let me make some space. And seek bar. So seek bar, we generally see seek bars for so many other components, like whenever the song is playing, you see the seek bar moving, or the video is playing, you see the seek bar moving. So seek bar is always showing you, or will let you know that something is working, or you can know the status of some operation. For example, if I see a song or video playing, if I don't see how much of the video left, or how much of the song left, so that is actually something you're masking the user from looking at, or you're not giving him the chance of looking how much is present, how much has been done. So seek bar is very essential when you do that kind of applications, where you show or play a song and you want to show him the status of that particular song playing, or you want to show how much is left, and everything can be done there. So rating bar is another kind of widget where you want to show rating for a particular person or particular application. So we see generally this coming up in the middle of any application or game you are running. So where you say, it shows you this rating bar and will ask you, rate this app right now or later, or maybe later or not now. It gives you different options, so you can simply rate it at different ways. So anyway, you can make the rating with default values as well. And the number of stars is the tag you have to write, and you can put 5, you can write 6, you can write any number. And when you see when you simply look at the design, you see the number of stars has been 5, and if you want to make them more, you can simply write 6, and the number of stars increases to 6. So you can put any number of stars simply by placing the number of stars there. So you can keep on increasing the number of stars on your UI. You can generally we put 5 or we put less than 5 so that it doesn't take it to the next line, as rating is will be showing on somewhere in the very small places. So you don't need to show more than 10 or more than 5, because if it is in a different case. So rating, in order to give some rating for anything, you can use the rating bars. And spinners. So spinners is a kind of item like in web you can equal it, or you can compare that with the drop down, where you click on something and the drop down appears. So the drop down is very similar to the drop down that comes for web applications, or you simply use a drop down for web application. It's the same as spinner here. So by default it could have any number of items. So you can load something into the spinner by similarly writing an adapter to it and setting the adapter to the spinner. So you can give hint, it doesn't have a hint or a text, but the default text would be setting by hint that will be written at Java. So here you can write something like select type or select anything else. So we can generally use it where you need to use a drop down. It's just a small case. And WebView, WebView will have a separate tutorial on this one, but WebView is something that where you like to load a simple URL on your phone page. For example, if you know there is some kind of site that is actually mobile compatible site, because all the web portals will not be mobile compatible. So if you want to see some kind of website in your application without going to the Google Chrome or any other browser, you can simply write an application with a WebView in it, and you can load the URL there. We will write a separate tutorial for that anyhow. And let's finish on the text fields and containers next. And text fields, you'll have different kinds of text fields, and let me finish on this first. Deleting them. And you'll have a plain text view where you will be entering a normal text views, and it's no way different from any kind of view. Whatever the view you're seeing here, it will be the same view that you see when you run an application on your phone and see. It's no way different. So when you want the plain text view, so when you want a plain text view, you use a plain text view which will be taking all kind of inputs. So it is not very cumbersome that it will give you only the alphabets or it gives you only the numbers. So when it is a person name, obviously it gives you person name something like this, which has a ready-made hint inside it. So you simply write a name inside it. So the text keyboard or the soft keyboard that comes out of the application or that comes from the bottom is always, when you tap on this particular field, the keyboard automatically pops off. So we call generally that keyboard is called soft keyboard. So this soft keyboard will generally consist of all kind of alphabets, and you can go to numbers, which is a normal keyboard that you see. But there, if you sometimes you can make the keyboard available only to the particular contents. For example, you can make the user write only numbers instead of names, but for that purpose you need to use number signed text field. So each and every kind of text field you want to use, there is a different kind of text field. So the difference between this text field and this text field will not be different, but only thing is that you'll make the text type or input type different. So the input type for person name will be text person name, and the input type for the numbers or the phone number For example, if you want to ask username, then you'll use a text person name. But if you want to use user mobile number, then you have to use input type as number signed. Of course, the tag would be same edit text, but the difference happens in input type. So when you said number signed, which means that it gives only signed numbers. So the soft keyboard popping up from the bottom also will give only the numbers instead of text, because if user wants to enter a number, if you pop up or if you give the input type of text person name, it will pop up to him as a normal keyboard which will have alphabets. But as per user experience, or when you want to think of your application should be really seamless, and the client or the person who using your application should be very easy in using your application, then you have to understand each and every point, and you have to be keen on each and every point. For example, if you are asking the mobile number, you are not able to, you shouldn't show the soft keyboard that pops up with alphabets. You should pop up that keyboard which comes out with the numbers. So that makes user easy, and instead of making him go to the numbers again, write something and then post it. So you're making him, or you are making the user clicks less in this way. For example, if I asking a mobile number and giving him alphabets, so what does it makes sense is he has to click on the numbers again, click some other numbers and say okay, which means he's doing twice taps instead of one tap. So if I simply make it number signed, which makes the keyboard to pop up itself is numbers instead of alphabets, so which makes user easy, and the user can directly enter a number and go on. So in a similar fashion, you had another text field called password. So this password text field is something which used while entering a password. For example, you don't want to show a password to a user while entering, so it simply can be changed into dots or stars as per the developer requirement. So you can, in order to make that particular edit text or text field password text field, you have to make the input type text password. In order to make it number sign. In order to make it simple person name, you have to make it text person name. And let's go to the other one. And password numeric. So password numeric is something like, if you want the passwords to be entered only numbers, then user can be allowed, or user can be popped up with the keyboard, because password can be anything, but in some cases you want the password to be only numeric for some reason. So you can make the user enter password only numbers by simply popping a input type number password. So the password that he enters will be only numbers. At the same point, they will be converted into dots or stars while he entering, without showing it to the other people. So similarly, you had email. So email is something you have to enter an email address into that field. So you can put simply text email address and do the email address check in order to see that particular email address or the user entered text is a valid email or not. You can use input type text email address for email addresses, and phone is for phone number, which gives you only numbers. And postal address is something that it gives you postal codes, like it gives you only the numbers in order to enter 500038 or 50078. So whatever that kind of numbers. In time and date, these are the text fields which are very useful whenever you want to enter some kind of time or date. It will be easy, like there will be a ready-made slashes or mmddyy kind of slashes in between, so user can directly enter the date or time in order to make easy, instead of going to the numbers, writing something and putting the slashes again. Instead of putting all these things, you can simply write the numbers without caring much about the slashes and other things, or the format. So that are regarding the widgets. Thank you guys.